Yes, Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A. Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Kirk Douglas in Community Property, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better-tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant. As Roma Wines bring you Kirk Douglas, the young American actor who made such an auspicious screen debut in The Strange Love of Martha Ivers. Mr. Douglas appears as George Mason, with Kathy Lewis as his wife Lois, in Community Property. Tonight's tale of Suspense.
You sure manage to look sloppy in the mornings, don't you?
Thanks. Coffee?
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have qualified it. You look sloppy most of the times nowadays.
Why should I waste my time looking glamorous for you?
Oh, don't mind me. I'm just your husband. I just pay the bills. That's all I do.
What bills? I should look like one of the 10 best women of the year on what I can squeeze out of you, I suppose.
I'm not talking about clothes. But you could get your hair out of your face and put on a little lipstick for a change.
Sure. Get up 3 hours early and go to the beauty parlor. All for the privilege of making your breakfast and listening to your sour cracks.
What's the matter with you? Didn't you sleep well?
What do you care?
I thought maybe you'd been lying awake nights again, wondering how you're going to spend your share of Uncle Bert's $50,000.
I never lie awake nights wondering how to spend any money that you ever got your hands on first.
Well, you got something there. I've got better use for that money than letting it go into freak hats and imitation furs.
Well, then stop harping about it. I don't care about the money. I don't want to see the money. I don't want to hear about the money.
What you call this, coffee?
That's what it says on the can.
Yeah, you could even make stuff out of a can taste rotten.
Look, if you don't like it, go get your breakfast at Schwab's drugstore. It's no pleasure for me.
Well, I would if I could afford it. You know, you're not kidding me any, Lois.
Kidding you? I've stopped even trying to communicate with you.
And that doesn't prevent you trying to make my life as miserable as possible, though, does it?
Your life. What kind of a life do you think I've had this past year? I can't even remember the last time I had a civil conversation with you. And as for anything else, I'm nothing more than a housekeeper around here, a housekeeper that doesn't get paid.
Yeah, it's tough. Sometimes I wonder how you stand it.
So do I.
But I know why, all right.
Oh, you know everything.
I told you weren't kidding me any. As long as you think I'm going to get that inheritance from Uncle Bert, you'll stick to me like a leech, won't you?
I told you I don't care about the money, and I don't want to hear about the money. There's enough about it. Even if your uncle is fool enough to leave it to you, which I doubt.
Oh, sure, you don't care about the money. Not much.
All I care about is having a decent life. And I've about come to the conclusion it's impossible for you to be decent to anybody.
Well, if it's as bad as all that, why don't you get a divorce?
Well, maybe I should. Maybe it's what time we talk divorce, George. Maybe it's just high time.
Well, what's stopping you?
Sometimes I wonder.
Well, I don't. You'll never get a divorce as long as you think I might inherit $50,000.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about it. I've thought about it plenty.
Then why don't you do something about it?
Because I know you're too cheap to pay alimony and the lawyer's fees. That's why.
Is that honestly all that's worrying you?
Oh, I'm certainly not worried by any illusions I might ever have had about you.
All right. I'll pay the lawyer's fees in advance, and any reasonable alimony you can get a judge to grant you.
You mean that, George?
I never meant anything more in my life.
Brother, you've got yourself a divorce.
I tried to register shock and righteous indignation, but I could hardly keep my face straight. Lois was going to get a divorce. I'd been working on it for a year, ever since I'd realized that Uncle Bert was going to die and I was going to inherit his estate. Ever since I'd realized that under the community property laws of California, Lois would get half of it. Half of $50,000, I figured. Maybe even more. $50,000. I wasn't going to share that with Lois or anybody else. For a year, I'd been nagging her and insulting her and even knocking her around a little, but it was no use. She just turned sullen and took it. And so I'd just about given up thinking about divorce I'd begun to think about something else for Lois. I'd begun to think about murder.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Kirk Douglas in Community Property. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. To enrich your quiet evenings at home, to add warmth to your welcome when friends drop in, serve Roma wine. Yes, your family and friends will appreciate and enjoy the important difference in Roma. The extra goodness and fuller bouquet, richer body, and better taste. That better taste of Roma wine begins with California's choicest grapes. Then, with ancient skill and America's finest wine-making resources, Roma master vintners guide this grape treasure unhurriedly to tempting taste perfection. These choice wines are placed with mellow Roma wines of years before. And from these reserves, the world's greatest reserves of fine wines, Roma later selects for your pleasure. So, for everyday enjoyment or gracious hospitality, serve Roma California Sherry, Port, or Muscatel. You'll find all Roma wines delightful, moderate, inexpensive, and always better tasting. That's why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Kirk Douglas as George Mason and Kathy Lewis as his wife Lois in Community Property, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Now Lois is going to give me a divorce. At last. And Uncle Bert's $50,000 would be mine, as long as she started proceedings before I inherited. And knowing Lois, I figured now that she'd finally decided. She'd probably go to work on it that very afternoon. When I drove out to Uncle Bert's later in the day, I was feeling like a kid just out of school. It was one of my regular visits, and I never missed. 3 or 4 times a week. That was a bore and a pain. But I'm a guy that can put up with $50,000 worth of almost anything.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mason.
Oh, hi, Judson. How's the old boy feeling this afternoon?
Not too well, I'm afraid, sir.
Oh, gee, I'm sorry to hear that. One of his bad days, eh?
Rather difficult, yes, sir.
Well, do you suppose it's all right for me to see him?
Oh, yes, sir. It's nothing that serious, I should say. He's called for his lawyer, Mr. Bernard, and for Dr. Thorpe. I should imagine he'd be quite able to see you as well.
Yes, what is it?
Your nephew, Mr. Mason, is here to see you, sir.
All right, show him in.
Hello, Uncle Bert. How you feeling?
Oh, not well, my boy. Not well. Not well at all. Well, go on, Judson. Close the door. Go about your business.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Judson was saying you've had sort of a bad day.
Yes, I'm completely bedridden now, as you see. I'm afraid the end is not far off, my boy.
Oh, don't be silly, Uncle Bert. You'll live to be 100.
No. I've called Dr. Thorpe.
Oh, you can't scare me. Well, you call Dr. Thorpe every other day.
I tell you, I'm sick. I'm dying. Are you going to sit there and argue with me?
Oh, well, I know, Uncle Bert, but, gee, I hadn't realized it was that serious.
Well, it's most serious. I'm glad you came today. I'd have called you if you hadn't.
Oh, I understand your lawyer is coming over here.
Oh, yes. I wish to be absolutely certain that my affairs are all in order before the end.
Gee, Uncle Bert, well, gosh, it's hard to believe that anything could happen like that. I mean...
Ah, my boy. There's no disputing with the Grim Reaper when your time comes. Oh, pull your chair a little closer.
Sure.
That's it. Now, George, you've always been a good nephew to me. Of course, I know you're always thinking of the money. But that's only natural. I don't care.
Uncle Bert, now that's not fair.
You're a liar, George. But you're a good liar. And that's a comfort to an old man. course, I don't know what you're like in daily life. I've been ill so long.
Just average, I guess.
Well, I wouldn't think so. Now, I imagine you're mean and greedy and thoroughly dishonest when it's safe to be, as I was. Well, it runs in the family. That's only natural, too.
You make me sound like a pretty bad guy, Uncle Bert.
All right. Only true to human nature, George, with a little dash of Mason family thrown in. Yes, you've always been a good nephew to me, George, even though you may have been a hypocrite about it. And that's all anyone has a right to expect at my age. You won't have any reason to regret it.
Well, I wish you wouldn't talk that way, Uncle Bert.
What way?
Well, about the money and things like that.
Don't you want to hear about it?
Well, have I ever asked you about it?
No, you haven't, George. You've been very clever about that. But you may as well know now.
Well,
As my will stands now, my estate will be divided into 2 parts.
Oh.
Yes. 1/2 of my estate will go as an endowment to my old school, Weymouth College.
Half?
Yes, half. Oh, who's that? Come in.
Well, hello, Mr. Mason. How are we
today?
Doctor.
Old man's handing out bad news today. Now, in your case, I'm afraid you're about to lose a steady source of income, Doctor.
Oh? Meaning...
Meaning me. Yes, I'm afraid you're going to have to find some other victim to pay your office rent very soon now.
Oh, well...
Yeah, you know my nephew, of course, don't you?
Sure. Hi, Doc.
Hello, George. Oh, by the way, George, here's a prescription your wife asked me to write out for her. You might have it filled on your way home if you have the time.
Sure, thanks.
Yes, bad news all around. Now, George here, I've just informed him that I'm leaving half my money to my old school. He looks mighty disappointed, doesn't he?
Oh, now, Uncle Bert, it's your money. Why should I be sore?
Now, the pulse, please, Mr. Mason.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course, I haven't told him all of it yet. You want to hear the rest, George, huh?
Well, whatever you say, Uncle Bert.
Really, Mr. Mason, you shouldn't be talking too much. Your condition's not as good today as it might be.
Oh, I know that. But as I was saying... what was I saying? Oh, yes, well. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving you fairly well provided for, George. Enough to give you a little start in life, anyway.
Now, take it easy, Uncle Bert. It's you I care about, not the money.
You're an accomplished liar, George. That's the only word for it. But you can relax again. The other half is going to you.
Well, you know you didn't have to do that, Uncle Bert. Well, not that I don't appreciate it, but...
I think it will help a little, George. You'll be able to use $500,000, won't you?
What'd you say?
Really, Mr. Mason, I must forbid you to get excited now. Your condition...
Didn't you hear me, George? I said 5.
Uncle Bert.
Mr. Mason.
Uncle Bert. Uncle Bert, listen to me.
I'm afraid he's gone.
Tell me what you said.
For heaven's sake, man, have a little decency, can't you? He's dead.
He can't be. It's some kind of a gag. Did you hear it? $500,000.
Oh, come in.
Mr. Bernard is here to see.
I'm afraid you're too late, Bernie.
Well, Bernie, you drew up the will. You'll know.
Oh, hello, George.
Bernie, he said 500,000. 500,000.
You mean your inheritance? That's roughly what it comes to.
Wow, $500,000.
And permit me to be the first to congratulate you, George, on bearing up so well under your bereavement, that is.
$500,000, and he never told me. Why, the rotten old liar. I left the house in a daze. I got in my car and started driving, just driving around. I don't know where I drove to. I just drove, and I must have spent that $500,000 500,000 different ways. But I wasn't in such a fog that I didn't do a little real thinking, too, about Lois. Because now if she got a divorce, she'd nick me for half that money anyway. And I wasn't having any of that. Not after what I'd been through. So it would have to be the other way. So I'd have to talk her out of the divorce, or it'd look too much like a motive. But first, I wanted to be absolutely sure of everything. I spotted a corner drugstore. It was late for this time, but I had Bernie's home number, so it didn't matter. Then, on the way past the drug counter, I remembered the prescription Doc Thorpe had given me. I think I had the idea right then.
Yes, sir?
How long will it take you to fill this?
What? Oh, that won't take any time.
Okay. Where's your phone?
Just to your left, sir.
Thanks.
Hello?
Bernie?
Yeah.
George Mason.
Why, hello, George. I'm afraid you can't have the money tonight, old boy, but come in first thing tomorrow.
Great kidder, aren't you? Listen, Bernie, I wanted to ask you something.
Anything you ask will be charged against you from now on, George.
Now, seriously, though, I met a friend of mine today, a Texas oil man, but he married out here, and, well, he's having a little trouble with his wife.
Send him around. I'll give him a discount.
Well, maybe I'll do that, but all he wants now is free advice. You see, he's worried about this community property law. Well, it seems he came into quite a hunk of dough out here lately, and...
Oh, coincidence department, huh?
Well, not exactly. This was, a deal, real estate.
Ah.
Well, he wants to know if there's any way he can keep his wife from cutting in on it.
Oh, a heel, huh?
That's right.
Well, not a chance, my boy. Any property accumulated in the normal course of affairs after the marriage is community property. That's the law.
Yeah, that's what he was afraid of.
Listen, though, George. You want to know something cute? Nothing to do with your friend.
Well, I gotta go, Bernie. I'm late. I'll call you tomorrow.
But I'm trying to tell you
Well,
something.
save it till tomorrow, huh? Good night, Bernie. I was in no mood to listen to bright sayings. I had too much else to do. At the drug counter, I picked up the prescription. It was what I thought it was. Sedative, it said. She'd been taking stuff to make her sleep for quite a while now. At the next corner, I bought her the biggest box of candy I could find. Then I went home to kill her. Lois?
That you, George?
Yeah. You going to bed?
Yes. You're late.
Yeah, Well, I'll tell you about it.
You don't need to. It's nothing unusual.
I know it isn't, Lois, and, well, that's what I want to talk to you about. Oh, here's something I picked up for you.
What's this for?
Nothing. I just thought you might like it.
You must have wrecked the car or something.
No, but, well, I've been doing a lot of thinking today, Lois.
So have I.
Well, you haven't done anything about that yet, have you? I mean, the divorce.
Not yet. I know you're in a big hurry, but tomorrow will be time enough, won't it?
Oh, now listen, Lois. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of thinking today. Well, it was quite a shock when you said that this morning.
When I said it?
Well, when it came up that way. Gosh, I got to thinking. Well, I've been pretty rotten to you these last few months. And, well, I don't know why, but I have, and I know it.
You haven't been exactly the ideal companion, George.
Well, it's as though something was driving me, making me do things and say things that I didn't mean and I didn't want to, and I couldn't help myself. Gosh, I don't know what it's been. Worry, trying to scrape along with everything going sky high and running into debt and thinking about the old man's money. I don't know what it's been, but I know it's been awful. For me, too. And I know it's been 10 times as bad for you.
I know, George, but everybody has those kinds of worries nowadays.
Well, I know, and, well, they don't take it out on somebody else the way I have, but when you talked about divorce, well, gosh, it made me realize I love you, Lois. I don't know how I could ever get along without you.
Do you really mean that, George?
I never meant anything more in my life. Just give me another chance, Lois. I'll do anything. I'll go to a psychiatrist or something. I know it's been my fault, but I can change. If you'll help me, I can change overnight. It'll be the way it used to be, huh?
Oh, George.
Oh, now, darling, I know I've been a terrible heel.
I knew it wasn't really you. It hasn't been all your fault either.
Yeah.
I've been sullen and nasty. But I had to do something just in self-defense, just to keep from going crazy. Because I love you so.
Oh, now, there, baby. It's going to be different now. I've learned my lesson, honest.
George, I know it will if we try, if we both just try. We used to be so happy.
We're going to be happy again, too. You see, happier than ever.
I know it. You know, I think I'll really sleep tonight for the first time in months.
Good.
I've been so nervous lately, I've just been a wreck.
Oh, say, that reminds me. I ran into Doc Thorpe today, and he gave me a prescription of yours. I had it filled on the way home. Here.
Hmm? Oh, my sleeping pills. That's funny. You're thinking about that now, and I probably won't need them anymore.
Well, you better take one anyway, just to be on the safe side, huh? Say, maybe I'll take one, too. Gee, it's been a pretty tough day.
All right. I guess tonight maybe I'm almost too happy to sleep. Would you warm up a little milk for me, darling? To take him with?
Well, sure, honey. I'll fix you right up.
Thanks, darling.
I went downstairs and started warming the milk. I'd had the stuff hidden away for a couple of months now. It was a narcotic that would have the same effects as the sleeping pills and show up the same way in an autopsy. I put some sugar and cinnamon in the milk to cover the taste, and then dumped in enough of the stuff to kill a horse. Then I took it up to her.
Thanks, darling.
There.
That's nice. What'd you put in it?
Oh, just sweeten it up a little. Sweets to the sweet. Oh, here's your fill.
Thank you. Oh. It tastes a little funny.
Oh.
It's nice, but kind of funny.
Oh, gosh, maybe I got the milk a little too hot, huh? It always tastes funny when it's boiled.
Maybe.
That's a drink it all now. That's a good girl.
Oh. There.
That's the ticket. Feeling sleepy?
All of a sudden.
Well, now you lie down and let me tuck you in and you get a good sleep. And tomorrow, we'll start all over again.
Oh, yes. A new life.
That's right. Tomorrow, there'll be a brand new life. I took the glass downstairs and washed it out thoroughly and brought it back again half empty. I dumped about 3/4 of the sleeping pills down the drain and then tipped the bottle over on the bedside table to give things that reckless look and went to bed. You think that's pretty funny, I suppose? Lying down in the next bed to someone you know is dying, will be dead before morning? Someone you just murdered? Well, maybe it is. But all I was thinking of was that $500,000 and spending it over and over another million different ways as I went off to sleep, and believe it or not, I slept like a baby. I woke up early feeling great, not knowing why for a minute, and then I remembered. I went over to look at Lois. She was lying just the way I'd left her. I put out my hand and touched her arm. That was all I needed to know. She was cold. Stone cold.
Dr. Thorpe's office.
Give me the doctor. Quick, quick.
Calling, please.
What's the George Mason, hurry, please.
Hello, George.
Oh,
What's the
Doc,
trouble?
listen, you got to come right over here. Something's happened, something terrible.
What is it, George?
Lois, those pills you gave her. She's taken almost all of them. I can't get her to move.
Now, wait a minute, George. Wait a minute. Are you sure there isn't some mistake?
I know there isn't. She's cold.
You'd better call the police, George.
Police?
Yes. Yes, it's usual in such cases. I'll be over, but you'd better call the police.
In about half an hour, they arrived. 2 plainclothes dicks and a man from the coroner's office. He and one of the dicks went in to look at Lois, and the other one stayed outside talking to me.
I know it's a trying time for you, Mr. Mason.
I can't understand it. I can't understand it.
Had you and your wife had any quarrels?
No, well, we had our little spats, but nothing more than any other married couple. Well, nothing to make her do a thing like that.
Had she been taking these sedatives long?
Well, the last few months, gosh, I don't know exactly why. Well, she'd been nervous and upset. You know, she wasn't getting any younger, of course.
But she took them on advice of a physician. She was under a physician's care, I suppose.
Oh, yes, Dr. Alexander Thorpe. Well, he saw her regularly. But he never told me there was anything mental.
Mm-hmm. Oh, how about it, Doc?
Narcotic poisoning. Pretty clear. If that bottle was full, when she went to work on it, she took enough to kill her, all right.
And I got it filled for her only last night.
Well, I guess that's about all, Mr. Mason.
I'm Dr. Thorpe, the family physician. Oh, hello, John.
Hello, Alex. You know Lieutenant Farley?
How do you do, Lieutenant?
Hello, Doc.
Hello, George.
You want to see the,
I take it Mrs. Mason is dead?
narcotic poisoning. Your prescription, wasn't it, Alex?
Yes. Yes, so it was, but I'm afraid there's some discrepancy here.
Discrepancy?
Yes. I had been prescribing sedatives for Mrs. Mason for some time. Lately, however, I reached the conclusion that her mental health was such that the possession of drugs in any quantity would be dangerous. My last prescription, therefore, contained no sedative of any kind.
What did it contain?
Nothing. Sugar and a neutral base. Why, if Mrs. Mason died of poisoning, the poison was administered to her in some other form.
You said, administered?
I did. From the evidence, I can reach no other conclusion.
And neither can I. Well, Mr. Mason?
Can I call my lawyer?
You're entitled to do that. And from where I sit, Bud, looks like you're going to need a good one.
That'd be a lesson to you, George. Before you commit a murder, always check with your attorney.
Great kidder, huh, Bernie?
Sure. If you'd only told me this on the phone yesterday instead of that cock and bull story about a friend from Texas, I could have saved you a lot of trouble.
How?
I tried to tell you. Money that you earn or make in business is community property. Money that you inherit is not.
What?
That $500,000 would have been all yours, George. You see what I mean? Next time, check with your attorney.
Check with your attorney. A great kidder. Now he says, don't worry. If he can get me off the gas chamber, I'll still have the worst years of my life ahead of me. How do you like that?
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Roma, America's favorite wines. This is Truman Bradley, bringing back for the curtain call our suspense star of the evening, Kirk Douglas. Kirk, you know, millions of our suspense listeners will remember you as Barbara Stanwyck's husband in The Strange Love of Martha Ivers. Well, seeing you play the part of a weak, neurotic man, they'd never guess you were a wrestling champion in college.
Well, Truman, you know, the difference isn't as great as you might think.
No?
You see, college wrestling was my first acting experience. See, that's where I learned to portray suffering.
Well, since you were undefeated champion, Kirk, I imagine most of the suffering was done by your opponents. But you must have some other hobby besides wrestling, Kirk. After all, you can't be throwing your guests around the living room all the time, you know.
Well, my wife claims my favorite hobby is eating. I do have an awful sweet tooth. You know, when it comes to eating cake, I'm worse than a 10-year-old at a birthday party.
Say, speaking of birthday parties, Kirk, reminds me that your host of the evening, Roma Wines, has a gift for you. This hamper of Roma Wines with the compliments of Roma, the greatest name in wine.
Well, thank you, Truman, and my compliments to Roma.
And for that sweet tooth of yours, Kirk, let me suggest this. After dinner tomorrow, or with dessert, enjoy the tempting taste luxury of Roma California Port. Yes, brilliant, ruby red Roma Port, with its rich, full body and mellow, natural sweetness, is the ideal finishing touch to a fine dinner. And when friends drop in, add warmth to their welcome with Roma Port. You'll find Roma Port delightful with your favorite fruits or nuts, too.
Truman, I'll remember that.
And remember, Kirk, that in all Roma wines you enjoy an important difference. An extra goodness and fuller bouquet, richer body, and better taste. Yes, Roma wines taste better because Roma selects better tasting wines from the world's greatest reserves. That's why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
I can't think of a better recommendation. Thank you, and good night.
Kirk Douglas appeared through the courtesy of Hal Wallace Productions and can soon be seen in the RKO picture Out of the Past. Tonight's suspense play was written by Robert Richards from a story by Howard Leeds and Arthur Julian. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Lloyd Nolan as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Yes, Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A, Roma Wines present Suspense.
Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Lloyd Nolan in Green-Eyed Monster, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A, Roma Wines. Those better-tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant. As Roma Wines bring you Lloyd Nolan in a remarkable tale of suspense.
I got to sleep pretty late. I'd been reading a book about the Civil War, and I got interested in the section on Gettysburg. There was some material there I hadn't known about. I didn't sleep very well, even after I had turned off the bed light. You know, when you're accustomed to having someone else in the house, it's the sort of an uneasy feeling to know that you're alone. I remember hearing the clock in the front room strike 4. Then I must have fallen asleep. I was dreaming, as I recall it, about a very bloody battle between the blue and the gray, when the alarm clock went off. It was set for 7 because I knew I'd had a busy day ahead. It took me a little while to realize what it was, because in the dream at that moment I'd invented a bell that scared the opposing forces right off the field. Oh, it was nice and quiet then. I lay warm in bed for a while, trying to remember my dream and not succeeding. When I did remember that I was alone in the house, that Margaret wasn't there to wake me up if I dozed off for just a few more minutes. I'd just gotten out of bed when the telephone made a loud, early morning noise. I shoved my feet halfway into some slippers and muttered down the hallway. Yes?
Sorry to disturb you. Is this Michael Dawson?
It's a little early, but I think so.
Do you drive a Pontiac convertible license number 99R479?
Yes.
Where's your car now, Mr. Dawson?
It's right in front of the house. What's up?
Will you look and see if it's there?
Say, who is this?
Police Department, Sergeant O'Connor.
Oh, well, just a minute. I thought it's awfully early in the morning for this to happen. It's awfully hard to think clearly when you haven't had a cup of coffee or a cigarette. I walked to the front window and my car wasn't there. And I went back to the phone, still thinking how hard it is to think clearly when it's early in the morning. Hello?
Yeah, right here, Mr. Dawson.
It's gone, the car.
I just wanted to be sure. Your car was stolen last night, Mr. Dawson. It's pretty badly banged up. You insured?
Well, I think so. I don't know.
I suggest you report the theft to the insurance company and come down to the police garage with a pink owner's slip.
Oh, all right. I'll be down as soon as I can. I got dressed, made coffee, drank it, had a cigarette, and I called Tommy Castle, my insurance man. I told him that the Pontiac had been stolen and what the cop had told me to do, and he said he'd drive me down to the garage. I had the pink slip on the desk, and I took it with me. It was 7:45 when Tommy picked me up in front of the house. We drove down to the police station and started walking around to the garage.
You don't need to worry, Mike. You're very well covered. Now, aren't you glad that you took all the insurance I recommended?
Well, I suppose so.
Because you're very well covered.
Well, that's swell, but if it's completely wrecked, where am I going to get another car?
They can probably fix it like new, and it won't be long before the market will be flooded with new cars.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Sergeant O'Connor.
Oh.
Car's over there, Mr. Dawson.
Where? Oh, yeah. Oh, I see it. Pretty smashed up.
Now, let's look it over very closely, Mike.
What a mess. Well, it serves me right for leaving it out in the street all night. Now, never would have happened if my wife had been home.
No, Margaret is more thorough than you are, Mike.
Is Mrs. Dawson a blonde, about 5'3"?
Oh, yes. Why, do you know her?
Is that your wife, Mr. Dawson?
Stuffed in the trunk of the car was Margaret. She was wearing the same dress she'd had on the day, Tuesday it was, the day she'd gone to visit her mother. The whole scene was very clear. I can remember easily. Her face was smudged, and I thought she wouldn't like to be seen with her face dirty. And her clothes were badly rumpled. And just below the left shoulder blade, sticking up straight from her back, was the handle of a brass letter opener. I started to weave a little then.
Hey, you all right, Mr. Dawson?
Easy, Mike, easy. Come over here and sit down.
Oh, I'm all right. Please, I'm all right.
Sorry I told you that way, but we had reasons.
Reasons? Well, it seems to me that you could have been a little more...
Who could have done it? Who wanted to kill Margaret? She had a few little faults the same as all of us. Who would want to kill her for them?
Here, now, here. Come on, sit down.
Looks like our local Jack the Ripper again. Stabbing, the whole general setup.
He never did anyone any harm.
You better take him home.
In a minute. Let him sit here a while.
Margaret. Poor little blonde Margaret. I did that pretty well, don't you think? Because I wasn't surprised at all. I'd planned the whole morning. I didn't think it would all happen that early, but I knew it would happen. You see, I had stolen my car and left it wrecked for the police to find. And in the trunk of my car, I'd stuffed the body of my wife, Margaret, who I had stabbed in the back at 4:30 Tuesday afternoon.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Lloyd Nolan in Green-Eyed Monster. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. More Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. Yes, Roma is America's favorite wine for everyday pleasure, for gracious hospitality. Because in Roma you enjoy the important difference of better wine, extra goodness and fuller bouquet, richer body, and better taste. And there's a reason Roma wines taste better. First, Roma selects California's choicest grapes. Then, with ancient skill and America's finest winemaking resources, Roma master vintners guide this grape treasure unhurriedly to tempting taste perfection. These choice wines are placed with mellow Roma wines of years before. And from these reserves, the world's greatest reserves of fine wines, Roma later selects for your pleasure. Discover for yourself the finer quality, the better taste of Roma California wines. Tomorrow, enjoy a glass of Roma sherry, port, or muscatel. You'll agree that Roma wine is your best buy in good taste. That's R-O-M-A, Roma, the better tasting wine.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Lloyd Nolan as Michael Dawson and Kathy Lewis as his wife Judy in Green-Eyed Monster, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I was, of course, the prime suspect in the murder of my wife, Margaret. The only thing was that there had been a series of crimes in my neighborhood during the last couple of months, crimes that all followed a general pattern. And since I was clever enough to fix Margaret's murder so that the death was as neat as the others had all been, it was decided at the coroner's inquest that the murder had been committed by a person or persons unknown, by which they meant the Jack the Ripper character that was running around loose. And I wasn't held. I waited a decent week after it was all over. And then I called Judy. My Judy. Oh, she was so beautiful. She was tall and brunette and willowy and beautiful. With the loveliest green eyes you ever saw. She answered the phone right away and said she'd be right over. Coming, honey. You're the most beautiful thing in the world.
I'll bet you say that to all the girls.
Come here.
Mike. Really, everybody in the street will see it.
Oh, it's okay. Say, where'd you get that dress?
An old aunt gave it to me. It didn't fit her anymore.
Mm-hmm. It fits you.
Thank you.
Come on in. In the kitchen.
Have you a new recipe for poached eggs?
No, I want to tell you something.
Story, Mike, so early?
A story, a beautiful story about a lovely brunette and a guy who's nuts about her.
Who could you mean?
Come here, will you?
Oh, yeah. You're very friendly today.
Well, you shouldn't have worn that dress.
This is the way it affects you. I wear it all the time.
Have you missed me?
Sure.
Have you missed me a lot?
Naturally.
You love me, don't you?
Of course I love you. You rehearsing for your bar exam?
Come on. Sit down there.
All righty, I'll sit down here.
Cup of coffee?
A cup of coffee.
Okay. There you are.
Don't you want some?
No.
Sworn off?
No, I have something to tell you.
I'm sorry about your wife.
Yeah, it was quite a blow.
I'll bet.
What do you mean by that?
I thought you said you loved me.
Well, I do.
Then you aren't too sad about Margaret, are you?
Well, it's a shame that she had to end up that way. You know how those things are.
Give me a kiss and stop talking so much.
New perfume?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you get it?
Oh.
Where'd you get it?
Well, really? Do you own me or something?
I want to know where you got that perfume.
Sit down and relax. What's the matter with you?
I had to slap your face.
You do, and I'll slap you right back.
Judy, I love you.
Of course you do.
Well, that's what I want to know. I get jealous.
Naturally.
Do you love me?
Sure.
But you don't act like you love me.
You want me to gaze at you with great fawn eyes?
No, of course not.
What do you want?
I want you to tell me that you love me.
Why?
Because
Go on.
Well, I've proven how much I want you. I think that you should return the feeling.
How have you?
Of what?
Proven how much you want me.
Why, by telling you over and over again that I love you, by loving you more than Margaret. Why?
By killing Margaret?
What?
You heard me.
What makes you think I killed Margaret?
Didn't you?
Now, look, Judy. Now, this is a pretty tough way to treat me.
Didn't you?
Yes.
Then I love you. Kiss me, Mike.
She loved me. She really loved me. That's all I cared about, all I could think about. Oh, she was so wonderful. We got a little house in Glendale, and were married out there where nobody knew us. And then that first evening, the first hour almost, that we were alone together in our own home, somebody came to the door. Well, it was Tommy Castle. He barged in. He talked about insurance.
And yours too, Mrs. Dawson. That's why I feel it's my privilege, yes, my duty to talk to you this way. Now, I'm the last one in the world who wants to stir up any unhappy memories, but... Well, if you remember, Mike, I urged you repeatedly to take out a joint life insurance policy on yourself and on your, that is the farmer...
You mean Margaret?
Yes, thank you. Well, you know what happened?
What happened, Mr. Castle?
Why, he never took out the insurance. And so when Margaret, she simply wasn't insured.
Maybe that's just as well, Mr. Castle.
Well, I'm afraid I don't follow you, Mr.
Well,
Dawson.
if Mike had collected any insurance when Margaret was killed, those silly policemen, you know how they are. They might have thought Mike had some
Judy?
reason.
Well, as I was saying, now you two are just married. A whole new life ahead for you, and now's the time to think about the future.
Now, listen, I don't like this whole conversation. This is no way to talk to a man on his wedding day.
But Mike, that's where you're wrong, my boy. This is just the way to talk to a man on his wedding day. Now, can I talk to you for just a second, Mike? No, please don't go, Mrs. Dawson. This will only take a second.
Now, listen, Tommy, this is our wedding day.
Mike, listen to me. You ought to sign an application on Judy's life. Why, do you know how many women are killed in automobile accidents every year? And here in Los Angeles, this Jack the Ripper character only kills women, you know.
All right, let me sign it. And please, Tommy.
Why, sure. Yeah, there we are. Of course, you'll have to take a physical examination, but that'll be nothing to a youngster like you, you know. Folks, I can't tell you how much this is going to mean to you when... Now, what did I do with my hat? Oh, yeah, there it is. I can't tell you how much this is going... Huh?
Are you going straight back into town?
Yes, I am. Anything I can do?
I think I'll ride in with you if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, I'd be delighted.
Oh, Judy.
I'm sorry, Mike. I forgot to tell you. An old girlfriend of mine called me today. She's in town just the one night, and I told her I'd see her.
Judy, it's
I know, but just one of those things, dear. Are we ready, Mr. Castle?
Yeah, ready? Sure, I'm ready.
Don't worry, darling. Don't wait up.
Well, I just stood there. I didn't know what to say or what to do. Our wedding night. I moved the curtain aside and watched her go down the walk with Tommy. She was holding onto his arm real tight, too tight. She smiled up at him. I went into the living room and tried to read Sandberg's Lincoln. It's quite a book, 5 big volumes. Oh, but I couldn't read. By midnight, I was in a blind rage. I was going to get in the car and go look for her. I was going to call the police. And a minute later, I was in a cold sweat of fear that something might have happened to her. And then back to a blind, scalding jealousy again. Finally, it got to be 3:30 in the morning.
Hello?
Tommy? Is that you, Tommy?
Huh? Oh, Mike, I just came in. I heard the phone ringing and ran up the stairs. I'm a little out of breath.
Where's Judy?
Huh? Judy? Oh, you mean the missus? What? I don't know. Didn't she?
Where did you see her last?
Why, I let her out at sunset on Western, and that was about...
No, you did you?
Well, of course I did. Good gosh, Mikey, you don't think that I...
Hello, darling. I told you not to wait up.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know, darling. I'm sorry. Poor Ethel wanted to talk about her troubles. I just couldn't bear to leave. Yeah, I smell coffee.
Poor Ethel. This was our wedding night.
Darling, you're white as a sheet. And you're trembling.
But sure I am. Wondering about at this hour in this Jack the Ripper character.
What was that?
Where have you been? What have you been doing?
I just told you, Ethel Darcy.
Now listen to me. Listen to me. If you ever do a thing like this again.
Now, darling, you listen to me. You're not going to try to run my life for me, are you?
Your life? I'm thinking about our life. I'm thinking about the...
Mike, that's what I'm thinking about, our life. And that's not all I'm thinking about.
Well, all right, then.
I'm thinking about Margaret.
Margaret?
You mustn't be like this, darling. You must promise me not ever again. Because I don't think Margaret would like it.
But she couldn't have made it much plainer, could she? And that's the way it was. From then on, my life was a nightmare. Someone you're crazy in love with and crazy jealous of. Wondering where they are, who they're with. Not able to do a thing about it. Sometimes I'd think it was getting better. It was going to be all right. She'd stay at home for days at the stretch or a couple of weeks. And then it would begin all over again. She'd just take the car and go. Always some girlfriend, she said. Girlfriend. Well, finally, I guess I did go a little crazy. I had to know one way or the other. So one night when she was getting ready to go out, I went to the garage. I jimmied the lock on the trunk compartment of the car so she couldn't be snapped shut again, and I crawled in. Pulled the lid down after me. It must have been crazy because it never even crossed my mind until I was lying in there all scrunched up in the dark. About the last time anybody'd been in there. I mean, Margaret. She drove for quite a while. It almost seemed as though she was just cruising around. I mean, not heading for any place in particular. Finally, she stopped. I heard her get out of the car and go in somewhere. When I was sure she'd gone, I cracked the lid of the trunk open and looked out. It was dark. She was going into a crummy little cafe. She was in there a long time. And when she came out, there was somebody with her. It was a girl.
There we are. No trouble. I'll drive you home. Kind of a long ways. I could get a taxi. I don't mind. Go ahead, get in. Well, thanks.
So it was a girlfriend. This time, anyway. And then the car was stopping. I cracked the lid of the trunk again. It was a nice night. The convertible top was down, and I heard it all.
But this isn't the way. Why are we stopping?
You'll find out. Get out.
Get out?
Don't argue. Get out.
Say, if this is your idea of a joke or something, all I can say...
As the car roared off, I had a glimpse of it lying there by the road. The girl's body, with a knife in the back, dead. After the car was back in the garage, it seemed as though I lay in that dark trunk for hours, shaking, trembling all over. After a while, I crawled out of the trunk all cramped and stiff and went into the house. And there she was in bed. She looked at me with those half-closed eyes. Those lovely, lovely green eyes. And then she turned over with a little sigh and was fast asleep. As I lay there in bed staring into the darkness, the only answer that seemed to make any sense was that I was losing my mind because of what I'd done to Margaret, maybe. That I'd imagined the whole thing. But the next morning, there it all was in the papers. More murder pictures. Theme strikes again. Theme. That was my Judy. My lovely, wonderful Judy. The woman I was in love with. From then on, I watched her like a hawk. Day and night, I never let her out of my sight. I hardly slept at all. I did things like letting the air out of the tires so she couldn't use the car. Like hiding everything in the whole house that was sharp or pointed. Knives, ice picks, scissors, letter openers. And Judy, she was wonderful. Calm, serene, apparently without the faintest idea of what was in my mind. I watched her, and I began to think what I had before. But somehow it must have been a terrible mistake. That was what I was thinking last night.
Here we are. I brought you some tea and Melba toast, darling.
Oh.
You're looking better, I think.
Well, thanks. Thanks, Judy.
By the way, whatever happened to that letter opener? The new one we used to have on the desk.
The what?
The letter opener.
What do you want it for?
To open letters, silly. First of the month. There's a stack of bills in there that high.
You're not thinking of going out, are you?
You don't know where that letter opener is?
No. No, I don't.
I guess I can find something else that will do just as well.
I had the letter open, of course, but I didn't tell her. I didn't dare. I could feel it inside my inside pocket as I lay there on the couch in the den where I could watch the front hall and the living room door. I heard her fussing around upstairs for a while, and then she came down, and I heard the back door close. She was going to the garage. As I got up, I could feel the letter opener pressing against my side. There was a terrible pain in my head. I don't know exactly what happened after that. And the next thing, the phone was ringing, and it was morning. I got off the couch, and I stumbled out into the hall to answer. I'm always groggy in the morning, but before I've had my coffee and a cigarette, but this morning it was as though I'd been drugged or something. I couldn't think at all. Hello.
Mr. Dawson? Michael Dawson?
Yeah.
You drive a Pontiac convertible license number 99R479?
Yeah, I think that's the number. Why?
Well, we've got your car, Mr. Dawson. Your insurance agent, Mr. Castle's down here already.
Oh, he is?
We'd like you to come down here right away and bring your pink owner's slip.
Oh, wait, who's this?
This is the police department.
I was still pretty much in a fog when I got down there. I couldn't quite figure things out. My car must have been stolen again. Really stolen this time. Wrecked, I suppose. And And where was Judy? Maybe she'd wrecked it. Or maybe they'd caught her. No, but then they'd have told me about it, not just asked about the car. Tommy met me outside. He must have been waiting for me.
How are you feeling, old man?
All right, I guess.
I'm afraid you're in for kind of a shock.
Why, is it pretty bad?
Pretty bad.
Oh, there he is now. Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Come this way, please. Is, that your car, Mr. Dawson?
Yes. Yes, but it isn't wrecked. There doesn't seem to be anything the matter with it at all.
Lift up the trunk, will you, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
She was lying in there with her head twisted around, staring at me with those lovely, sightless green eyes. Dead. Judy. My Judy. And the letter opener was in her back.
He'll come around in a minute. You better get a stenographer in. He'll probably want to make a statement now.
You all right now, old man?
Yeah, sure.
We can't pay the insurance, of course, you know. You understand that.
Insurance?
The life insurance on Judy. But I'll get you a lawyer, do anything I can.
Lawyer?
Don't you think you're going to need one, Mr. Dawson?
Oh, I'll take care of all of that.
One accident, that's one thing, but two wives, both in your car. Now there's your letter opener with your fingerprints on it. It won't go, Mr. Dawson, not anymore.
Oh.
And then, of course, there are all the others, 7 of them that you killed in the last 3 months.
That I killed?
Now, Mr. Dawson, you're not going to give us any trouble, are you?
No. No, I'm not going to give you any trouble. Well, I guess I killed her all right. I must have. I didn't kill the others, of course, but I confessed to them I was glad to. I'd rather have them think that it was me than Judy. My beautiful green-eyed Judy. Well, I've got lots of time to read. I'm almost through the 3rd volume now of that Life of Lincoln. Only 2 more volumes to go. They're pretty long, pretty thick, but I think I'll make it. Just about.
Suspense.
Presented by Roma Wines. R-O-M-A. Roma, America's favorite wines. This is Truman Bradley, bringing back for a curtain call our suspense star of the evening, Lloyd Nolan. Lloyd, ever since I saw you in Lady in the Lake, I've been wanting to ask you how you liked acting directly into the camera. You know, talking and looking right at the lens as if it were an individual.
Well, I really enjoyed it, but it was a little tough. Acting is easier when you're talking to another person. It sort of helps to watch his reactions, see his expressions change as you deliver the lines. You know?
Well, Lloyd, if you like to watch reactions, just try this idea, will you? To see your friends' expressions reflect pleasant anticipation, serve them Roma Californian sherry from this hamper of Roma wines. Yours to enjoy with the compliments of Roma, the greatest name in wine.
Well, thanks, Truman. I will.
I'm sure you'll find, as I do, that everyone enjoys Roma sherry. For this golden amber, fragrant wine with its tempting nut-like taste is so good so many ways. Roma sherry is the perfect first call to dinner, the ideal start to a pleasant meal every day. And Roma sherry is delightful and right for friendly entertaining any time.
That's right, Truman. Roma sherry is always the best of taste.
Yes, Roma sherry does taste better because Roma selects the better-tasting wines from the world's greatest wine reserves. That accounts for the delightful difference in Roma wines. The fuller bouquet, richer body, and the better taste. That's why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
There's 3 very good reasons, Truman. Well, thank you and good night.
Lloyd Nolan appeared through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox, producers of the late George Apley. Tonight's suspense play was written by Elliot Lewis and Robert Richards. Next Thursday, same time, you will hear Mr. Richard Conte as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Yes?
Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects from the world's greatest wine reserves for your pleasure. And now, Roma Wines, R-O-M-A. Roma Wines present
Suspense. Tonight, Roma Wines bring you Mr. Richard Conte in Win, Place, and Murder, a suspense play produced, edited, and directed for Roma Wines by William Spear.
Suspense, radio's outstanding theater of thrills, is presented for your enjoyment by Roma Wines. That's R-O-M-A. Roma Wines. Those better tasting California wines enjoyed by more Americans than any other wine. For friendly entertaining, for delightful dining. Yes, right now a glassful would be very pleasant. As Roma Wines bring you Richard Conte in a remarkable tale of
Suspense.
Most of this took place because you can lead a horse to water, and sometimes you can make him drink, but you can never make him win a race. I learned that from a horse named Mosquito down at Tropical Park. I was in New York and things weren't easy. The private detective business had gone flatter than a glass of beer in a boiler room. I needed to borrow money. The only place I could get it was from a girl named Laura Lee. I'd been going with Laura before I got hit by that monsoon at the $2 window. And I'd marry if she could shake her father with $5 million and a big stick. Anyway, I scratched together a little dough, and I'd sit in my office brooding about how crime doesn't pay. It didn't help any when Laura took an office across the hall and called herself a private detective. With $5 million, you can afford to play games. After that, things went from bad to worse. And then last week, Thursday, I noticed in the paper Mosquito was running down to Jamaica. I picked up the phone and called a bookie joint run by a guy named Joey Galt. And that's how it started.
Hello.
Let me talk to Joey Galt. I got a bet.
He can't talk now.
It's only going to take a minute.
Why you want him for?
I told you, I want to make a bet.
Just a minute.
Hello?
Joey, you know that horse Mosquito?
Hold it, mister. This ain't Joey Galt.
Look, if I wanted to talk to everybody in town, I'd rent a subway. Let me talk to Galt.
Who is this?
Chris Draper. I want to give Joey a bet.
He's not taking any more bets.
What do you mean? I got the right thing at Jamaica. What do you mean he's not taking any more bets?
I mean it the way it sounds, Draper. Joey Galt isn't taking any more bets.
I should have known then. But I'm the kind of guy finds out about an earthquake when the repair squad arrives. If Joey Galt wouldn't take my bet, somebody would. It was almost 12, so I put on my coat and started for a bookie joint down on 45th. On the door, I hung a sign that said, "Out to lunch, back at 1 o'clock." I always hated to walk out that door because I had to look at the sign across the hall. Laura Lee, licensed private detective. A dame that couldn't find a spoon of sugar in a candy factory. But she had the scratch, and that's what counts. I walked down to 45th Street and put my last $100 on Mosquito to win. It was raining, and so I ducked into a drugstore for a sandwich and a cup of coffee. After that, I strolled up toward my place again. I stopped a couple of times, once in front of a bookstore. The window was full of books on how we had to have a peaceful world. 3 of them were written by generals who wouldn't know peace if somebody lugged it in on a hunk of toast. It was about 1:45 when I walked up to the door of my office. Somebody made some changes, and I got the fastest slow burn in history. My sign was gone, but there was another one that said, "Gone for 1 week. Please inquire at room 205, Miss Laura Lee." I burst into my office and called the intercepting switchboard. Come on.
Yes.
What's the matter? Don't you answer these things?
Well, I only have 2 hands, Mr. Draper.
I bet you've got 2 heads to go with them. Look, nobody's calling his phone for a week. Haven't I been getting any calls?
Of course, Mr. Draper. You've had quite a few, but we switched them to Miss Lee's office.
Why?
According to your instructions.
I see. When did I give them?
Oh, Miss Lee told us. She said you were working together from now on.
When did she say that?
Oh, about a week ago when she brought up the check to pay your office rent.
My rent?
Uh-huh. Anything wrong, Mr. Draper?
Not a thing, baby. Get a pad of paper. I've got a message for you.
Hello, Draper.
Just a minute.
All right.
Pilson.
I held onto the phone and looked up from the desk. The room was full of muscle. A guy named Mike Farrago, a collection boy for Joey Galt. I'd seen him around before, a broad guy with a smile like an undertaker.
Where's Pilson?
Hello. I just called your office. What happened over there?
Don't make me keep repeating, will you? Where's Pilson?
I don't know any Pilson.
You don't sound sure.
I'm awful sure, Farrago. I don't know any Pilson.
You're a nice guy, Draper. You shouldn't have made it tough.
Now, wait a minute. Put that away. It'll go off in my face.
That's so you can see it.
Look, you're trying to find a guy named Pilson. I don't know him. I never heard of him. As far as I'm concerned, you just dreamed him up.
The boss don't think that.
Huh?
Pilson just knocked off the boss.
He killed Joey Galt?
Yeah, that's right. Just walked in, took a gun out of his umbrella, and shot Joe right in the ticker. Shame.
Oh, I'm sorry for Joe. Well, I hope they let him make book there.
Everybody's got regrets. We got him about you, Draper.
I don't know your boy, Farrago.
Well, you had your chance, Draper. Now...
Hello, Lieutenant? Lieutenant?
Put on that phone.
I got him on the wire, Mike. You should have asked. Hello, Lieutenant. I've got one of Galt's boys.
All right.
He's pushing me around a little. If he pushes too hard, you know where to look.
Okay, you win this one, Draper, but I'll be back when you're not so lucky.
I'm always lucky.
I don't believe it. I've seen your mutual tickets. I'll be back. Goodbye.
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 As soon as he walked out, I started hating her again. Laura Lee, girl detective. I knew now where the business was going. For weeks, she'd been bypassing me on every client. I wanted to shoot her in the head, but I controlled myself and started across the hall to strangle her. Look, Laura, I want to talk to you.
Watch out, Chris. He's got a gun.
Huh?
Watch out, will you? Oh. Are you all right, Chris?
Who is he?
A client.
One of mine?
Oh, please, Chris, I didn't mean anything with those signs. I just wanted to show you, darling. Please, Chris, if you'd marry me, things like this wouldn't happen. Will you marry me?
On my dough? Who is he?
Who?
This on the floor. He's not a carpet. Who is he?
I don't know. He gave me this ticket.
Let me see it. Check stand, Grand Central Station.
Huh?
Well, don't tell me he wanted you to pick up a suitcase.
How could you know that?
Look, I spent my life in this jungle. I know a phony pitch when I see it.
It's not a phony, Christopher. He's a nice old man.
All right, he's a nice old man. If you don't mind being shot.
He offered me $100 to pick up the suitcase.
For 4 bits, any red cap in town will do it. The guy's a phony.
Somebody was watching for the bag. He couldn't use a red cap, and I was going to pick it up and meet him at track 17 at 2 o'clock, you see.
Help me roll him over.
Well, Christopher, he's a very important man.
They don't wear ragged collars.
Talks so nice. Everything.
There. Here's his wallet. You're right. He is an important man.
Let me see. Frank Pilson, age 47, cashier, Everywhere Umbrella Company.
Pilson, yeah. Pilson. You got yourself a tough client, baby. This guy's wanted for murder.
He couldn't be.
He shot up a bookie named Joey Galt.
Oh, there's some mistake.
Joe doesn't think so.
Well, the police will find out. They'll understand.
You'll have to make a bigger sale. All the hoods in town want him.
Well, I don't believe it. I'm going to take the ticket and meet him with the suitcase.
Now, give me that ticket.
No, now you stay away from me, Chris.
You're not big enough, sweetheart. Let loose.
Are you going to marry me, Chris?
Not today.
All right, Chris. I'm sorry, darling. I'm a big girl now.
I don't know where she learned that trick, but by the time I got to the elevator, it was on its way down. When I got to the street, she was up near 7th Avenue climbing into a cab. There was only one other cab in sight, but I couldn't do business there because Farrago moved into it and started to follow Laura. If I was going to get there, I had to grab a cab down the street. I turned and ran right into a lieutenant from Homicide named Herbie Knapp, a guy that learned how to dress from Brooks and how to talk from Damon Runyon.
Hello, Chris. How are the horses?
Look, Herbie, I got to run.
I asked you how the horses was.
Mosquito in the first. Now, let me go by. Herbie, I got to get a cab.
Wait. It's a shame. You got to stay here a minute. Likewise, it's a shame about Joey Galt.
I don't have the time, Herbie.
Somebody walks in an hour ago and shoots him right on the price tag.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah, you know, it's most uncharitable to kill a bookie, especially he is an honest bookie. Stay here.
All right, I'm not going anywhere now.
And all and sundry along Broadway say Joey Galt is honest as the day is long, and part of the night, too. He never welches. Well, this comes about probably because no one ever has a winner with Joey, though.
If you got a pitch, make it, Herbie.
I am asking you the whereabouts of Pilson.
Who?
A citizen named Pilson. He drops one of your circulars in Galt's place.
Well, that proves I got a printer's bill.
That proves more. A few minutes after Joey dies, the phone rings, and it's you, Chris, pretending you want to place a bet. Well, I put 2 and 2 together, and I don't want 4. I want Pilson.
All right, he's up in 205. You'll find him up there.
We'll both find him, Chris.
I gotta go, Herbie. You go on up.
You know, being a cop is no fun. Likewise, it's lonely. You'll come, too.
I could see Herbie wasn't going to let me chase that cab, so I got him up to room 205. I opened the door to Laura's office. He's in here. Check him and let me get... Hey.
He is a wee fella, Chris. He is so wee, I do not see him.
And you know I couldn't see him either. And why I couldn't see him was that he wasn't there. Lieutenant Knapp of Homicide looked at me, and I looked at Lieutenant Knapp of Homicide. But at that moment, he looked better than I did. And that was because I was gaining weight. In a couple of minutes, I expected to be heavier by 13 ounces, which is the standard weight of a pair of handcuffs.
For Suspense, Roma Wines are bringing you Richard Conte in Win, Place, and Murder. Roma Wines' presentation tonight in radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense.
Between the acts of Suspense, this is Truman Bradley for Roma Wines. You receive an extra dividend without cost every time you buy Roma wine. That extra dividend is the fuller bouquet, richer body, and better taste you enjoy in all Roma California wines. That extra dividend of better taste is the reason why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine. Yes, Roma wines taste better because Roma selects and presses California's choicest grapes. Then, with ancient skill and resources unmatched in America, Roma master vintners guide this grape treasure unhurriedly to tempting taste perfection. These choice wines are placed with mellow Roma wines of years before, and from these reserves, the world's greatest reserves of fine wines, Roma later selects for your pleasure. Whether your favorite is sherry, port, or muscatel, you'll find more real enjoyment with Roma. So, buy Roma tomorrow. That's R-O-M-A, Roma wine, your best buy in good taste.
And now, Roma Wines bring back to our Hollywood soundstage Richard Conte as Chris Draper, with Wally Mayer as Mike Farrago in Win, Place, and Murder, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
I felt embarrassed, to say the least. Here I've invited Lieutenant Knapp up to meet somebody who was of mutual interest to both of us. And now I had to pick up the check.
Well?
Well, he was here 5 minutes ago.
Look, chum, don't pull my leg on account of I will use it in your teeth.
Well, he was here 5 minutes ago. I hit him and thought he was out. He must have gone down the fire escape.
First you never hear of Pilson, then you have him upstairs, and now he goes out the back way, huh? Whose place is this?
It's a girl's office. Miss Laura Lee, debutante detective.
How come Pilson was here?
He came by mistake.
That's the way I'm taking you to the jug. I have a brother-in-law handles cases cheap.
Look, would I hide him on you, Herbie?
I'm taking you downtown, Chris.
Now, wait a minute, Herbie.
Unless you pull Pilson out of the woodwork.
All right. He's over in my office.
Oh, that's better.
Across the hall here.
Did he go down the fire escape on this side, too?
No, he's over here in the closet. I had to lock him in. There. You can have all 5 feet of him.
Where? I don't see no...
In the back there.
Let me see.
Sure. Look him over good.
Hey, wait a minute, Draper.
Sorry, Herbie.
Hey, let me out.
I told you I was in a hurry.
I'll shoot the ball now.
Bring all the tenants in. The police force will look funny locked up in the closet. I'll be back in an hour.
An hour? Hey, wait. Wait a minute, Chris.
Yeah.
Look, that filly, Mosquito, she's running in the first?
Like crazy, the word is.
Look, if you keep me in here an hour, I will not get a bet down, chum. Suppose she wins.
She's a 58-1 shot, too.
Oh, 50... Chris, look, I will consider it a great favor if you put 20 skins on Mosquito's nose, huh?
All right, I'll give it to Lou Golding. He works the corner. Pass it under the door.
No, well, what if it stinks?
If it's horse money, it's thin. Pass it under.
Oh, all right. You got it?
Yeah.
Be sure she wins.
I'll tell her about your $20.
Thanks, Chris, thanks. I won't forget you for this.
Well, go easy. She may lose.
That's what I mean.
It looked like a good trick, but I knew it wasn't. If I didn't find Pilson, Herbie'd come out of that closet burning like horseradish in a floor furnace. And that give and take about the horses didn't mean a thing. Because he's the kind of guy who could win the Grand National and put the kids to bed without supper. I had to get to track 17, and I had to head off Laura somewhere in between. I walked to the corner and got down Herbie's bet. And then I cut down 44th Street to Grand Central. The station was jammed with Scarsdale club women trying to look 36 with 46 hips. But I spotted Farrago right away. You couldn't miss with his face. Most witch doctors would have turned it down. He was standing over by the telegraph window watching the check stand. And Laura was there looking around nervously. And finally, the guy behind the counter handed her a small black bag, and she started for the Vanderbilt Avenue exit. Farrago dropped the telegram blank and started after her. If he ever got to her, she'd be counting the bruises with a slide rule. So I cut across and bumped into Farrago near the stairway.
What shot?
It's too late to get her now, Farrago.
Get out of my way.
Come around either way, mister.
Okay, bum you escort.
Come on, break it up. Come on now. There. If you want to fight, get a matchmaker.
You're a cop. He was bothering a lady.
Where is she?
She's gone now.
What did she do, ride a deer? I just walked up. Were you bothering a lady?
I don't know none.
Now, forget about it, both of you. Get out of here.
Okay. I'll tag you later, Draper.
And you get moving, too, fella.
I'm sorry about this trouble. Here, you want a cigar?
Is it one of those nickel things?
Yeah.
You keep it. I don't smoke nickel cigars.
I didn't say you had to smoke it, officer. Just chew it. Farrago was up the stairs and out the Vanderbilt exit. But I knew Laura had time to disappear in the crowd, and Farrago didn't know about gate 17. I went over toward the information desk and then walked back to the gate. I didn't see Laura at first. The crowd was starting to gather for the Chicago train. Laura was over on one side, scared and hugging the wall so tight she could have hired out as a mural.
Chris!
Oh, give me that bag.
No, you get out of here, Chris.
Hand me the bag. I'm taking over from
You
here.
go away, Christopher. If you don't go away, I'll scream.
If you stick around, you'll be screaming out of a hole in your throat. I told you up in the office. Homicide wants your boy.
He didn't kill anybody. Chris, I don't want you to make a mistake.
Look, baby, I'd like your knees, but not on my neck.
Oh.
I got homicide breathing hard. Now give me the bag.
No, I'm not going to. No, Christopher,
Hold
please.
it.
Officer,
Who are you saving this time, fella?
Now, wait a minute, officer.
You need a white horse. Is he bothering you, lady?
Yes.
I'm not bothering her. I know her. She works across the hall.
Well, sometimes that helps. Goodbye, fella.
I never saw this man before in all my born days.
Now, look, don't get the wrong idea. This is important.
On your way, fella. Stop bothering the lady.
It's important, I tell you. It's a matter of life and death.
That's the first time I ever heard a guy put it that way.
The cop watched me as I walked off, and the way he stood at the gate, I knew I wasn't going to get to Laura with a shortwave radio. It was 1:45, and Pilson had a few more minutes before he had to show. I took a chance and called his office. It looked as if I wasn't going to get anywhere, because the girl on the board had lockjaw.
Hello. Ever wear umbrella?
I want to talk to Mr. Pilson.
He's not here. He'll be back at 2.
Is he the cashier over there?
Yes.
How long's he been there?
Who is this, please?
Insurance company. We're just investigating a policy.
Oh, yes. Well, he's been here for 15 years. He was with the company at the start.
Oh. How about his personal habits?
I beg your pardon?
His habits, the big two, women and gambling.
I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Well, I don't think he gambles. You'll have to take a vote on the women.
He's over 40.
Well, that doesn't change anything but the blood pressure.
He gave a Mr. Galt as a reference. Do you know if he ever calls up there?
Why, yes, I think he does. It's a brokerage house, isn't it?
It used to be. Do you know if he went there today?
I don't think so. He had to pick up the payroll during his lunch hour.
What payroll?
He always picks it up on Friday.
I didn't know about that. Would it be risky to insure him?
Oh, my, no. He's been doing it for years. Small black bag. He does it every Friday.
I see. How much is in the payroll?
I don't know.
Well, make a guess.
Well, 50,000. I'm not sure. It may be.
That's right.
What?
Maybe. I was out of the woods on that one anyway. Pilson had taken the payroll to square up with Joey Galt. But why did Pilson knock him off? And why did Joey Galt let a 5 and dimer run up a tab like that? They were big questions. And the answer walked right by the telephone booth. I was just coming out of the booth when Pilson hurried around the corner. All I had to do was reach out and yank him. Come here, Pilson. Get in that booth.
No, you're going to hurt me.
In the booth. Come on.
Don't, please.
Now, sit in there and talk in a hurry.
Don't hurt me, mister. You can have the rest of the money.
What money?
The other 26,000.
The payroll dough?
I didn't want to take it, but he made me take it. Your friend made me take it.
I don't have any.
Farrago, he made me take it.
He's on the other team. I'm Chris Draper.
You're Mr. Draper?
Yeah.
But Miss Laura Lee said that you
Yeah,
were...
I know. She said she was handling my cases. Why did you want a detective?
I was in trouble. I thought you could help me.
I can't square a murder rap.
I just took the money. There's no murder.
Galt's cold enough to prove it.
Galt?
And you're wanted for murder.
You've got to help me, Mr. Draper.
You're tough enough by yourself.
No. Mr. Galt was all right when I left. He and Farrago were talking.
Farrago, huh?
He's the one who fixed it up so I could go to Chicago.
Why?
He said I'd get in trouble unless I skipped. He said to take what was left of the payroll and skip. He said I had to do it.
Or throw a lot of sevens before 2 o'clock.
No, but I got scared. When Farrago came down the stairs, he gave me the gun and said I had to take care of myself. But I got scared, and that's why I went to see you. He didn't like me.
You're guessing.
No, he wanted that money. I know. He kept asking where it was, but I didn't tell him. And then I got away from him, and I came to see you. You've got to help me.
On that much story?
Oh, please, Mr. Draper, I didn't kill him. I wouldn't do that. You can ask anyone.
Can I ask Joey Galt? I rushed Pilson up to my office. Pebby was banging around the closet like a carpenter's apprentice.
Hey, let me out of it. Hey,
all right.
Let me out of here.
All right, come on out, Herbie. How was it?
Oh, how was it? Humiliating, that's how it was. By the same token, it is distressing.
Yeah.
Likewise, it is distressing to throw you in the clink.
You don't have to. Here's your boy, Pilson.
Oh, he goes to the clink, too.
Oh, tell him no, Mr. Draper. Tell him no.
The drag Draper's got won't pull a flea over a silk thread. You go to the clink, Pilson.
Oh,
he says he didn't do it.
Chris. Mr. Pilson. Chris, I want to talk to you.
Now, wait a minute, Laura.
What are you doing with Mr. Pilson? Christopher, I want to know what you are doing.
Hey, Draper, who is this Judy with a loose tonsil here?
Now, wait a minute. Calm down, Laura. Give me that bag.
No, I'm not. No.
Give me that bag. Herbie, do me a favor.
Oh, this afternoon, I would not do Busher a favor.
Do me a favor and get in that closet with Pilson.
You've miscounted the holes in my head.
It'll only be for a while. Please, Herbie, do me a favor. You can't lose anything now. That's it. Just stay in that closet.
Chris, I got the only sunstroke in April.
Yeah, that's a boy. All right. Now get in there, Pilson.
When do I get out?
I'll let you know.
Christopher, I won't let you do that to Mr. Pilson.
Now keep still and come over here by the desk.
No.
Now help me get this bag open.
Oh.
There. Now we'll have a look.
My stars. Chris, in the bag.
Yeah, Pilson's Laundry. 26,000 green shirts. Here, help me put them on the table.
How do you know there's 26,000?
Just put the dough on the table.
Well, I'm trying.
Don't bother to count it. I'll have more time.
Hello, Farrago. I was afraid you'd follow her.
Just scoop it in the bag, Draper.
Well, you don't need this. You got the rest of Pilson's payroll.
I'm just greedy. Put it in the bag.
Pilson doesn't get much out of this.
He gets a lesson.
Well, he was right then. You were after that dough. You knocked off Galt and took the dough Pilson paid him.
And I want the rest of that payroll.
Chris, I was right. Pilson didn't do it.
That's right. Farrago palmed off the murder gun on him.
Well, I won't let him take the money. Give me that bag.
Wait a minute, lady.
I will. Here.
All right, lady. Get down on the floor and pick it up.
And while you're down there, say a prayer for me, too.
Heavens, it's all over the floor. Prayer. What do you mean?
He's hot now. His only chance is to knock us off.
That's right. Now hand me the bag. Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's the only way, Farrago, but it's a big mistake. As I was saying to Lieutenant
I'll
Knapp...
worry about that, Draper. And I'm sorry about you, lady. I got regrets, but I'll get over them.
Use your head, Farrago. If Herbie were here...
Sorry. Pick an angel, Draper.
Farrago, I don't want to fast talk you, but there's a copper in that closet.
Don't kid me.
If he'll step out of there, he'll put you away for good.
I wasn't born yesterday.
But you'll die today, mister.
Draper, you're a bum horse player. But you hit it on the nose. This time.
He looks pretty, Herbie.
Yeah. All such characters get sleepy along about this time.
If you roll him, you'll find the 20 grand he killed Galt for. I guess that answers everything.
Yeah. Except one thing.
Huh?
How Mosquito makes out in the first race.
Oh, I forgot all about it. Give me that phone.
Yeah, find out.
Switchboard, get me Lou Golding's place. She's due this time. I know it, Herbie.
All right. In such cases, I say heaven bless her.
Hello? How about the first of Jamaica? How'd they finish? She won, Herbie.
What? Yeah?
She came in and paid 58 to 1. How do you like that for a horse?
58 to 1? $20 I got on the schnoz.
Think of it, Laura. 100 skins at 58 to 1.
Oh, my stars. Christopher, it's $5,000. It's more than that. It's enough to get married on. You've got to do it now, Chris. You've got to marry me now.
Well, okay, I accept it.
Oh, Chris, darling.
Come here, baby.
Oh.
Hey, what do you think of her, Herbie? Isn't she a knockout?
Oh, to be sure, yeah.
Isn't she the most beautiful thing you ever saw?
In my born days.
Of course she is. I tell you, Herbie, there'll never be another filly like Mosquito.
Oh, Christopher, darling, we'll be a real darling.
But there's always a kicker along Broadway. That price of 58 to 1 was too big. Lou Golding couldn't stand the belt. When Herbie and I went around to collect, they said he'd skip town. Now I'm broke. And Laura, top heavy with dough, won't let me out of that marriage deal. She even claims Herbie for a witness. I could get a smart lawyer and wriggle out. But I got a sure thing at Hialeah next Tuesday. So I need $100. Laura says she'll give it to me if I marry her. I don't know. It may be worth it. But this is a sure thing. A very sure thing.
Suspense. Presented by Roma Wines. R-O-M-A. Roma. America's favorite wines. This is Truman Bradley, bringing back for a curtain call our suspense star of the evening, Richard Conte. Richard, most of our listeners know you as an outstanding young actor. Well, we'd like to tell them something about you they may not know. For example, the fact that you're an artist off the screen as well as on.
I'm no Michelangelo, Truman. Painting is just a hobby with me, like having friends over for dinner and then talking about acting all night.
Well, Richard, here's something to make your talking sessions even more friendly and companionable. A gift hamper of Roma wines with the compliments of Roma, the greatest name in wine.
Thank you. That's an idea for holding my listeners.
You're right. At dessert time or after dinner, serve that fine Roma California port, and you'll really have an appreciative audience. For ruby red Roma port has a rich, full body, a mellow, natural sweetness that everyone enjoys. You'll find Roma port is the ideal finishing touch to a fine dinner, a luxurious taste treat later in the evening with cake or fruit.
Say no more, Truman. Just give me the Roma basket.
One more word, Richard, and it's important, too. Remember that in all Roma wines, you enjoy an important difference, an extra premium goodness in fuller bouquet, richer body, and better taste. Yes, Roma wines taste better because only Roma selects for better taste from the world's greatest reserves of fine wines. That's why more Americans enjoy Roma than any other wine.
You've counted Conte with Truman, and thank you and good night.
Next week, part of the country goes on daylight saving time. If your city remains on Standard Time, Suspense will be heard 1 hour earlier. Check your local newspaper for time. Richard Conte appeared through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox, producers of the late George Apley. Tonight's Suspense play was from the story by Emil C. Tepperman. Next Thursday, you will hear Miss Ava Gardner as star of Suspense.
Produced and directed by William Spear for the Roma Wine Company of Fresno, California. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.